Good morning. Wednesday morning, December 1st. It's December, the last month of 2021. Good morning, everyone. Daryl and Suzanne, hey, you win again today. First names I see on the live stream this morning. Good morning and welcome. Jim and Kathy, good to see you this morning. Janisa, welcome. There's my mom, bright and early. Good morning to you. Jacob Faust, welcome this morning. Good to see you. Let's see if your mom is here as well. Debbie King, good morning to you. Praying for you, Debbie, and your mom. Carmen, good to see you this morning. Sally Crocker. Welcome, everyone. Wait for a couple more names here. We are in Genesis chapter 2 today. Katya Myers, all the way from India. Good morning to you. Well, good evening to you, I should say, rather. Good morning to everyone else. And Kyle, if you're watching as well, we extend a hello from the other side of the world. Barbara Richardson, good morning. Good morning, everyone. So we're in Genesis chapter 2 because I wanted to point out a really important truth about creation and how God designed us as people. There's so many hidden gems in creation and in the Garden of Eden and so on that I have, for the most part, assumed that we developed as people after we left the garden, after our relationship with God had been broken, after sin had entered the world, after Adam and Eve rebelled and so on. And I'm learning that so many things that I just assume because there's so little detail in the garden itself and Adam and Eve's interactions with God and so on, that we just assume, because most of the Bible is written afterward, that just wasn't even present. But that's just not true. For instance, I've said this before, that I think you can make a serious argument that God created, well, not a serious argument. I think the reality is that God designed us for emotions like sadness, fear, and anger. He made us with that intention. And I think you can even see those things present even in the garden. We'll discover that a little bit this morning. I've already talked about fear being in the garden. Adam and Eve experiencing fear prior to the fall. When God said, don't eat this fruit. If you do, you're going to die. If they had no sense of fear, then that consequence would be meaningless to them. Any consequence, if there was no intellectual, emotional connection with that basic part of our design, then some fear of consequence because of due to this, the failure to obey this command would be meaningless to Adam and Eve. It would be unjust for God to have them, their minds even wrap around that. So, I think things that I don't like, particularly emotions I don't like to feel, sadness, anger, fear, I feel like that's all a part of the fall. It's not, actually. God designed it in us. They actually have good aspects of these things. And so there's another emotion I want to talk about today that God designed in us that aren't necessarily just associated with the fall, and that is sadness. I believe that Adam and Eve, well, I don't. It's not let's see. I'm not conjecturing here about that. I mean, God obviously designed us to know sadness. It's part of His design in us. But did they actually experience sadness while they were in the garden? I would make the argument that they did. And I'll tell you why. And it's important to our devotion this morning. So let's go back to Genesis chapter 2. And God has, the 6 days of creation. On the sixth day, God created Adam and Eve. Well, so that there's this one day that God created both Adam and Eve, but there's a gap between them. So God He created all the, the fifth day He created the fish and the birds, and then the sixth day He created all the livestock and all the mammals of the things that creep on the ground and all the other animals that live on the earth. And then He planted this garden because the trees hadn't grown up around the earth and everything. So he kind of planted this special place, and then He created man, the first man, Adam, and He put him in the garden. So He put Adam in the garden, and He designed him for relationship. He gave him intellect. He gave him a job. He put him in a perfect environment. There's no sin at all in this moment, right? He is living in an unbroken relationship with God and creation. God says, hey, go name all the animals. And so He does. He starts naming animals, whatever He called them, that's what their name was going to be. And this is God's design. We often ask, why didn't God just create Adam and Eve simultaneously, the same time? Why did He do this, where He created Adam first and allowed Adam to experience relationship with his Creator and with creation, to be put in the Garden of Eden, to have duties and jobs and all these things? I believe that these are all elements that He has, that we too experience as far as how we gain fulfillment and satisfaction and contentment and meaning in our life. God put Adam in that perfect environment to experience all of those things in unbroken relationship. And yet, there was something God wanted Adam to feel, that He had put in him by design, and that was want. So Adam had all the food he needed. Every tree that bared fruit, it's like, eat it all, except for that one, right? God Himself was present. Relationally, is like, wow, I have this unbroken relationship with my Creator. I mean, what could Adam need? What could he want? Yet God had not yet created Eve, and it's about this having created one person and not yet creating the second person, the perfect counterpart, that God created a space for Adam to feel sad. I think it's really important that we understand this. God said to Adam, it is not good for man to be alone. So He says this before He gives Adam the job of naming the animals. And I don't know if He says this directly to Adam, or if this is just an observation by Moses about the intention of creation. But we know before God gives Adam this job, He says, it is not good for man to be alone. Everything else that's happened to this point, it's all good. Everything, God saw what He created on day one, and He said, this is good. Day two, it's good. When He created everything, it's all good. This is the first time in the scriptures that God says it's not good. And He says it's not good for man to be alone. So this gap between creating Adam before He creates Eve allows Adam space to live in this perfect environment, to have everything that we experience that we would call fulfilling, a relationship with our Creator. And we have a broken relationship with the Creator that needed to be mended by Jesus, right? Even with Jesus and the Holy Spirit in us, we still have our old nature. We got problems. Adam didn't have those problems. He didn't have a sin nature. So he's in this perfect environment. He has food, shelter, relationship with his Creator in an unbroken way, and yet he experienced loneliness. I'm convinced that God created this gap so that Adam would experience this necessary emotion of sadness when he said, I'm naming these animals, and I can see that there's all these kinds of animals that look alike, like they're all birds. These other kind of animals all kind of look similar. They're all cattle. There's all these other things that are creeping around the ground. They're all kind of similar. But there's nobody like me. Not even Adam's creator. Even though we were made in God's image, there's something missing that Adam needed to experience. And he wanted, God, by design, put in us this sense of longing, this sense of need that we would want. God put Adam in a place where we think there is no want at all. And yet he did this in this particular order so that Adam would feel alone, feel sad, even with God there. Okay, so I'm making this argument because sometimes we think, all I need is God. I don't need friends. I don't need other people. I just need God, and I have all my needs fulfilled. Well, not according to Genesis chapter 2. God gives us a deep longing to know him, certainly. And there is something that only he can fulfill in us. But God also put a deep longing and a deep need for other people in us. And I believe this is one of many reasons that Adam was created first, then Eve. And there had to be space and time for Adam to experience, hey, I'm alone. And God says, yes, that's what I want you to realize. You have a need, and I'm about to meet that need in a very special way. And he creates Eve, right? And then when Adam sees Eve, he says, wow, this is now bone of my bone and flesh of my flesh, right? So he gets this connection with Eve. And I read this passage every time at a marriage ceremony, but it is obviously far broader in its application than simply marriage, because God created us and have a deep need for other people by design. And it's not just functional relationships that we need. Like Adam obviously needed Eve to multiply. If we're going to create the human race, can't do it by yourself. You need Eve. So we all get that we functionally need other people. If I have need of food, I got to go to the store. I have to have a functional relationship with the other human beings, farmers who created, who grew food. They sold it to certain brokers who sold it to grocery stores, then I go buy that. If I have a physical illness, I have a functional need to go see a doctor who has been trained to help me feel better, right? We have functional relationships with other people, but God, that's not where it ends. God put in us deep relational needs for one another by design. He put in us a deep relational need for him as our creator and for one another. And so the purpose of this morning's devotion is to draw attention that if we feel this relational need, we must, first of all, say, this is by design. God has created me to feel a want relationally. If I feel lonely, that's a gift from God, so that I would go out and try to have that need met by another person. And this is why we create friendships with one another. It's all a gift of God. And sometimes it's a gift that we neglect. And it is something that we, in order to experience life fully, have to invest in. We have to invest in other people. We can't go it alone. We think we can, and obviously we can survive without people. People do it. But you're not fully experiencing all the gifts that God has for us unless we are investing in deep relationships with one another. People say, well, I don't need the church to be a part of God's family. Well, you kind of do, right? We need people. I don't need to, have deep friendships, I'm okay by myself. Well, yeah, you could survive functionally, but not deeply in a relational way. And so I just want to encourage us this morning, especially in December. December, I think, are these times of year for whatever reason, we feel a sense of relational need more than other parts of the years. I don't know if that's just a sentiment, the traditional aspects of Christmas or the sentimental aspect of it. I don't know what it is, but we have this deep sense of relational need. And I praise God. That is something that God has designed in us. And we have a choice to go out every day and choose to invest in people so as to cultivate deep relationships. And if we don't have enough friends, then we in part are to blame for that. It's nice that there are people who seek us out, and I'm so grateful for that in my life. But I also understand that I need to seek others out, and I need to invest in them. I need to express my love for other people and my time and my ears to listen to them. And so I love that part of relationship, and to ask questions, to probe deeper into people's hearts. So, what did you mean by this? And you made a comment the other day that revealed something I felt like was a little bit deeper in your heart, that you were maybe struggling with something. Do you want to talk about that at all? Let's grab some lunch, where we initiate some of those deeper relational connections that are beyond function. We're not making functional transactions that out of necessity. That's one part of relationship, but the deeper part of what we call friendship is so vital, that God created in us. And I just want to encourage us, especially in this December, to cultivate those relationships, to make time, initiate, invest in people. We can't do it equally in all people, right? So we have a friend group that we're trying to cultivate, or a best friend, or 2 or 3 friends that we feel very close to. We have limits, right? We can't do it with everybody. But this is by God's design. God created sadness in us as a way to motivate us to seek out relationship with other people. It's a part of the created order of creating Adam first and then Eve, so that Adam would feel lonely, and he would know that that's not good. It's not good for you to be alone. And then God provided a solution. And here's your perfect counterpart, Eve. And so rejoice in God's blessing today. I recognize that no one likes to feel sad, and I'm not wishing that for anyone today. But if you do feel a sense of loneliness, you can invest in other people. Invest in them, and that friendship will develop. And I guarantee it. It's just the way it works. So, Lord bless you today. Enjoy the gifts of God in how He's created us for one another today. And we'll see you again tomorrow morning. God bless.